Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of John, the 4th chapter. When therefore the Lord knew how the Pharisees had heard that Yahweh Shai made and baptized more disciples than John, though Yahweh Shai himself baptized not, but his disciples. So, he was baptizing, but it was really his disciples doing the physical baptism. So as it says, the Pharisees heard that Yahweh Shai was baptizing more people than John. He left Judea and departed again into Galilee. And he must needs go through Samaria. So on his way to Galilee, he had to go through Samaria. If we look over here, from Judea, which is down here, you got to go up north, and you have Samaria up here in order to get to Galilee. Then cometh he to a city of Samaria, which is called Sychar. And when you look that up, they think they say it's associated with Shechem. Probably another name for the town of Shechem, a town in Samaria near the well of Jacob. It says here, near the parcel of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Now Jacob's well was there, which is an actual well where you get water from. Yahushua, therefore, being wearied with his journey, he was tired, sat thus on the well, and it was about the 6th hour. And the 6th hour is about 12 noon. There cometh a woman of Samaria to draw water. Yahushua saith unto her, give me drink, or give me to drink. Now, this woman of Samaria was not an Israelite. Okay. And when you go into the history of the Samaritans, it goes, far back into the Old Testament, right? To the point of the Assyrian Empire, when they ended up deporting the northern kingdom out of their land, and they imported heathens into their land. It goes into all of that in the times that happened afterwards. But let's read a little bit more and we'll get into it. So verse 8, it says, for his disciples were gone away onto the city to buy meat. So they went to buy food. So he's sitting here. The woman comes. He says, give me water. Then saith the woman of Samaria unto him, how is it that thou, being a Jew, askest drink of me, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. Once again, one, because you had that difference. When going back into the history, I'll just paraphrase it for you. Many lessons we've done on it, right? You just look up, GMS, John 4th chapter, or even if you look up my channel and you go to John the 4th chapter, I'm sure I've done videos on this already. But when you go back to the time of the Old Testament, the divided kingdom, you had the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom. At the point around maybe the 722-ish or so, when you had the Assyrians ended up besieging Samaria, they got the upper hand. They deported the Israelites of the northern kingdom, the bulk of them, not all of them, but the bulk of them, because some of them were left and some of them were mingled in the southern kingdom. They deported them to Assyria, right? Regions in Assyria. And they imported, this was a tactic of the Assyrians. They would deport people out of their land. They would import heathens or other foreigners into their land. And this reduced, or it was in hopes of reducing revolts and uprisings, because it's much harder to gather and revolt when you don't even know the terrain. You're in a foreign land now. So they took the northern kingdom out of their land and they put heathens into the land. When the heathens got there, they were doing their heathenish behavior. And being that the land was holy and they were defiling it, the Lord sent lions among them to kill them. And it got so bad, they sent and asked the Assyrian king and said, hey, we need you to send one of those priests to come and teach us how we ought to live in this land so we don't keep dying. They sent a priest. He came and taught them the ways of the land, and they did so. In process of time, these heathens came to follow our customs, so much so that they ended up building their own temple in Mount Gerizim. And there were times, like when you read in the book of Josephus, There were times when they sought it beneficial to identify themselves as Israelites, they would claim so. And when times when they didn't, they would say, "Oh no, we're not. We're not of these people." And they did that when Alexander came into the land. When they feared that Alexander was gonna destroy them or the Jews, yeah, no, we're not associated with them. But when Alexander gave favor to the Jews based on a dream he had, now they came to him saying, "Look, we're also part of these people. Give us blessings." He said, "Get that shit out of here." So let's look up here first. Mount, or let's do Temple of Mount Gerizim. It says here, the temple on Mount Gerizim was a significant Samaritan religious center built in the Persian period and expanded in the Hellenistic era, serving as a rival to the Jerusalem temple before its destruction by the Jewish leader John Hyrcanus in 110 BC. So not only was this back and forth, right, this going all the way back with Israel knowing majority of the people at the time in that land were not Israelites. So that tension was there from of old. But to add insult to injury or whatever, oil to the fire, gas, whatever you want to call it, to make it worse, you had here later on John Hyrcanus, which in this time destroyed, okay, the temple of the Samaritans, which pissed them off even more. And this was more, at the time much closer to the time period of the New Testament here, right? So it says here, it was constructed by the Samaritans, or who viewed Gerizim as holy, mirroring the temple in Jerusalem and its ruins, including a large precinct, show evidence of later Byzantine churches built on top. So now we have Mount Gerizim. Let's see if we can find the part here about when it was destroyed. There we go, destruction. So it says here, and John Hyrcanus was a descendant of the Hasmoneans, I believe from Simon. So between 112 and 107 BCE, John Hyrcanus, the Jewish leader of Judea and high priest, launched military campaigns to expand his state's territory. Around 111, he was also the one who did the forced conversion of the Edomites to Judaism at the time. So it says here, as part of the effort, Hyrcanus led a campaign in Samaria that culminated in the destruction of the Samaritan temple on Mount Gerizim. The destruction is recorded only in the writings of Josephus and in Megillus Tianus. It is not mentioned in any of the books of the Maccabees or the Samaritan literature. Josephus writes that Hyrcanus conquered the Kuthian nation living around the temple, which he said was modeled on that in Jerusalem. He then explains the background of the temple's construction, adding that 200 years later, this temple was laid waste. Investigations at the site found extensive archaeological evidence of destruction caused by fire. Based on this, Knoppers suggests that Hyrcanus had no intention of adapting or reusing the site. Along with the sanctuary, both the adjacent city and Shechem below were destroyed by Hyrcanus. Now, let's see. I want to see if it see. Yeah, I'm going to read this third paragraph here a bit. Here it talks about, his conversion of the Idumeans. I'll just read that part real quick as well because I mentioned it. Let's just read it. It says, Josephus does not explain Hyrcanus' reason for destroying the temple, prompting scholars to propose various motivations for his actions. Historian Jonathan Borgo argues that John Hyrcanus' destruction of the Samaritan temple was not meant to exclude the Samaritans, but rather to forcibly integrate them into the Hasmonean state and bring them under his authority as high priest of the Jerusalem temple. Unlike his conversion of the Idumeans, which are the Edomites, who had to adopt circumcision and Jewish laws, Hyrcanus likely saw the Samaritans as genuine Israelites rather than foreign Kuthians. Now, this is somebody's assumption here, right? Historian Jonathan Borgo. That's what he's saying. So that's his take on that, not fact. Now I'm going to jump down here and see if I can find. Okay, so it doesn't really say too much in here, but moral of the story is the Samaritans didn't really like that too well. They didn't take that too kindly of what John Hyrcanus did. And that created even more tension between them and the Jews. Okay. Now, you did have Israelites that were amongst the Samaritans, but overall, it was mainly you had also heathens that were amongst them. So coming back to John the 4th chapter, she's saying the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. This is history. All right, this is a long period of history of this tension or this not being on the same page here. So she's like, so why would you ask me to fetch you water? Yahushua answered and said unto her, if thou knewest the gift of God, and who it is that saith to thee, give me to drink, thou wouldest have asked of him, and he would have given thee living water. Now, he was toying with her. He wasn't actually going to give her the living water because it wasn't for her. And he lets her know that a couple verses below. But what he was basically saying, if only you knew who it was you were actually talking to. And if you understood that I was the Messiah having the way of life, you wouldn't be asking, you wouldn't be telling me about how, the Jews and the Samaritans don't have dealings and whatnot. Verse 11, the woman saith unto him, Sir, thou hast nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. This went completely over her head. I mean, she just, for a good period of this conversation, if not all of it, she thinks he's talking about actual water. When he says living water, she's thinking he's talking about some fresh water somewhere. So she says, you don't have anything to draw water with, and the well is deep. From whence then hast thou that living water? So where are you going to have that living water? Art thou greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well? That's why she says our father Jacob. Not that they were actually descendants of Jacob, but that's what they were taught. With generation after generation after generation, that's what they came to believe. So as it says, and drank thereof himself and his children and his cattle. Yahushua answered and said unto her, whosoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again. That is that literal water of the well, because that's how the human body works, right? You drink, you get thirsty. But whosoever drinketh of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water springing up into everlasting life. This water he was referring to is the spirit of truth and the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of salvation. Okay, the gospel. So the reason he said that is that if you were to drink or partake of that water, that living water, which to sum it up, we'll just say the truth, you'll never thirst again. Meaning once you have it, you won't desire, like you won't desire it anymore, right? It'll constantly be within you. And in fact, it'll stay within you. It'll nourish you. You will grow in it, and it will turn you into a fountain. Because when you look at what this truth does, you learn it, you start to grow, and then what do? You teach it. So what you have received turns you into a giver, you could say, like a fountain. So when you really drink of this living water, it turns you into a fountain, and you bring forth that living water by teaching others. Okay. So the same way somebody else taught you and gave you that living water, you become a fountain, holding that living water within you, within your mind, and you teach others. That's how you're likened onto that well or that spring that's springing up into everlasting life, because the things you're teaching others is opening up their minds to the way to everlasting life. When we were in the world, we didn't know that. When we came into this truth, we learned of how to gain everlasting life. That's why we live the way we do. See? Because we have drunk of that water, that living water from the Lord. The woman saith unto him, Sir, give me this water that I thirst not, neither come hither to draw. So right then and there, right then and there, that, okay, it completely went over her head, right? Because she's saying here, she thinks he's talking about some actual water that you drink and you never get thirsty again. So she's saying, look, give me some of that so I can drink it, so I don't have to come and keep drawing water here anymore. Yahushua saith unto her, Go, call thy husband and come hither. The woman answered and said, I have no husband. Yahushua said unto her, Thou hast well said, I have no husband. Oh, so you're right. You don't have a husband, for thou hast had 5 husbands. Damn, woman. And he whom thou now hast is not thy husband, in that thou saidest truly. So you're right, because the man you're with right now isn't your husband. And in fact, you've already had 5. Sheesh. Let's read that in the NLT. For you, matter of fact, let's go up a verse. I don't have a husband, the woman replied. Yahushua said, You're right. You don't have a husband. You have had 5 husbands, and you aren't even married to the man you're living with now. You certainly spoke the truth. The woman saith unto him, Sir, I perceive that thou art a prophet. And she said that because now she's like, wait, how does he know that? Our fathers worshipped in this mountain, but this was in Samaria. See, or Shechem. So what she's referring to there is that mount where they had their temple. And ye say that in Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship, because you had the temple at Jerusalem. But she's saying her forefathers, they worshipped at the temple they had over there in Mount Gerizim. But she's saying that you, the Jews, are saying that the true place of worship of the Lord is in Jerusalem. Yahushua saith unto her, see, now he speaks to her, he basically gives her the truth of it. Woman, believe me, the hour cometh, so the time is coming, when ye shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father. See, because as it says here, ye worship ye know not what. You are practicing customs and worshiping in a practice you don't really understand because it's not for you. Okay? We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. He made that distinction there to let her know you're doing this because it was taught to your forefathers, but this is not for you. We know what we worship. That's why we say worship in Jerusalem, because salvation is for us. It's our Heavenly Father that we serve, that we worship. But the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshipers. So by saying that, he was excluding her. So he's saying the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth, for the Father seeketh such to worship him. And that holistically would refer to the nation of Israel, but really in particular the elect. They are the ones who this starts with. God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. The woman saith unto him, I know that Messiah cometh, that is called the Anointed. When he is come, he will tell us all things. So she said, oh, I know the Messiah, has to come, that he's gonna come at some point, the Anointed One. And when he comes, he'll make it all plain to us. He'll explain everything to us, teach us all things. Yahushua saith unto her, I that speak unto thee am he. And that's what he meant by the first statement he said to her, that if you knew the gift, right, and who it was that you spoke with, you would have asked him for that living water. So he finally reveals it plainly to her, because clearly she wasn't getting it, that he is the Messiah. And upon this came his disciples and marveled that he talked with the woman, because even they understood, like, wait, she's a Samaritan woman, right? Yet no man said, what seekest thou, or why talkest thou with her? So they didn't dare ask questions lest they get rebuked. The woman then left her water pot and went her way into the city, and saith to the men, Come, see a man which told me all things that ever I did. Is not this the Anointed? So she's in her mind, like, yo, this might be the anointed because he told her those things. He basically told her her life story. She thinks she probably never even told anybody else. Then they went out of the city and came unto him. In the meanwhile, his disciples prayed him, saying, Master, eat. So they were saying, look, we went and got the food. Come and eat. But he said unto them, I have meat to eat that ye know not of. And he wasn't talking about literal food here. He was talking about his job that he had to do. Okay, that is what his father's will. That's what he likened onto his meat or his food. Therefore said the disciples one to another, hath any man brought him aught to eat? So, like, did anybody bring him anything to eat while we were not here? Yahushua saith unto them, my meat is to do the will of him that sent me, and to finish his work. That is the food or the meat that's laid before me that I have to consume, or I have to get this done. Say ye not, there are yet 4 months, and then cometh harvest? Behold, I say unto you, lift up your eyes, and look on the fields, for they are white already to harvest. And what Yahushua was saying here was spiritual, right? He's saying it's about 4 months until the harvest time, but I'm saying to you that the harvest is ready. And he was referring to the people, all right, meaning the role or the job of going out there and teaching this word. And in the other gospels, he mentioned something similar, right? About the harvest truly is plenteous, but the laborers are few. The laborers are those that Yahushua would send to go and to teach and to preach and to heal. And he that reapeth receiveth wages and gathereth fruit unto life eternal. And those would be the workers, right? The laborers, the teachers. That both he that soweth and he that reapeth may rejoice together, right? Because then the work would be done, right? Those that sowed, that did the groundwork, and those that reap, which is all signifying the laboring of this ministry. At the end, they may rejoice together, because what would they gain? As it says, wages and fruit unto life eternal. And herein is that saying true, one soweth and another reapeth. I sent you to reap that whereon ye bestowed no labor. Other men labored, and ye are entered into their labors. See, so the groundwork is already laid. You didn't have to do that. Okay, that was already set up. Your job now, as he said to them before, is to be fishers of men. Your job now is to go and to teach. Okay, that's the labor. Go and to teach and gather by way of this word. And likewise, like even with us, right? Although you have brothers that came into this knowledge at different points. And when we came in, there was the Lord had already laid some groundwork, right? Even going back to the elders of our elders, the Lord had already set things in motion for them, even those that began the ministry in this latter days. And then they set things in motion for those that will come after them, and then for those that will come after them. And so we're all entering into the process, right? And continuing and picking up and doing the work from there. And many of the Samaritans of that city believed on him for the saying of the woman, which testified, he told me all that ever I did. See? And those that believed on him were Israelites that were in that region. Because remember, Israel was scattered throughout the four corners. So even though you had heathens in Samaria, you still had Israelites there as well. So when the Samaritans were come unto him, they besought him that he would tarry with them. And he abode there 2 days. And many more believed because of his word. And said unto the woman, now we believe not because of thy saying. So at first they came to hear him and believe because of what she said. They said, now after hearing him, it ain't even about what you said. For we have heard him ourselves and know that this is indeed the anointed, the savior of the world. So those were Israelites that believed. Now after 2 days he departed thence and went into Galilee. For Yahushua himself testified that a prophet hath no honor in his own country. And he said that, right? because he was from that region of Galilee. At least he grew up there, and in Nazareth. And he said, right, basically, a prophet is not without honor, save in his own country. Then, when he was come into Galilee, the Galileans received him, having seen all the things that he did at Jerusalem at the feast. For they also went onto the feast. See, because they remembered all the miracles he did, the turning of the water to wine, and they said, yep, that's him. So Yahushua came again into Cana of Galilee, where he made the water wine. And there was a certain nobleman whose son was sick at Capernaum. When he heard that Yahushua was come out of Judea into Galilee, he went unto him and besought. He went unto him and besought him that he would come down and heal his son, for he was at the point of death. Then saith Yahushua unto him, Except ye see signs and wonders, ye will not believe. So he's saying you are those that need to see, you need to see miracles with your eyes before you believe. The nobleman saith unto him, Sir, come down ere my child die. Please come and heal him before he dies. So he was desperate. Yahushua saith unto him, Go thy way, thy son liveth. So you go, you just go. He's all right. He'll be fine. He's not going to die. And the man believed the word that Yahushua had spoken unto him, and he went his way. And as he was now going down, his servant met him, and told him, saying, Thy son liveth. Then inquired he of them, or his servants. Then inquired he of them the hour when he began to amend, meaning when he started, because he was sick unto death. So he's saying here, at what time did he start to feel better and start to, be healed? And they said unto him, Yesterday at the 11th hour, which is around, 5 p.m. or so, the fever left him. So the father, because remember, the trip from Cana of Galilee to Capernaum is not like a, the 2-minute walk. So it had been some time from when Yahushua told him to go and to when he met his servants. So when he inquired, he saw that it lined up, right? Verse 53. So the father knew that it was the same hour in the which Yahushua said unto him, Thy son liveth. It was that same time when he told him that. And himself believed, and his whole house. Because you damn right he told him about it and kept talking about it and then talked about it some more. And they believed. This is again the second miracle that Yahushua did when he was come out of Judea into Galilee. I mean, just imagine how beautiful that was, right? Just by even saying it. just saying it. He was at one point he was sick unto death, and he just said, Don't worry, he's fine. And boom, now he's good. Hey, it was a beautiful thing, man. But that brings us to the end of the book of John, the 4th chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Racha Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.